looking at like natural intelligence versus artificial intelligence and thinking more about the environmental impacts of our daily computing activities. I've been reading about a project called Solar Protocol, basically a website that's hosted across a network of solar powered servers, and they're installed by what they call solar stewards all over the world as volunteers. The website is then served or powered to the visitor from wherever there's most sunlight within the network. So really is kind of looking at how to reconfigure internet protocols with natural protocols like logic of the sun. So the visualization of the site changes depending on the amount of sunlight there is at that location or at that server that you're drawing from, thinking about these kinds of grassroots networks and distributed ways of powering our daily activities.
What do we think about this natural intelligence idea and where it might lead?
I love this project. I've been excited about this project since it came out. But to me, the signal is like just continuation of a few things. One is the aesthetics of low energy, which is, there's a few projects in the last couple of years as a magazine called Low Energy Aesthetics as well, which plays around with this stuff and optimizes the graphics for power usage. It's pretty interesting that people are thinking about that right now because we're thinking about climate change and like the general like ecological costs of massive like infrastructure at this scale. The actual cost of switching between these different servers might in itself be very expensive in terms of computing power and like even just energy. So I don't know if it's effective. It's actually achieving the purpose that it should. It might be. I don't know. I haven't looked into it. But I think it asks a really good question, which is how can we redesign our current infrastructure to be more tuned to ecologies and our natural world?
Is it only related to like computing?
To websites, I suppose. Like, yeah.
So it's not just a website, it's like a protocol, which means like it's a form of automation almost, like and automating this kind of energy reductive behavior, I think is like a kind of thing that you're going to want to do to reduce people's consumption habits. Is like, how do you minimize like stuff in the background? How do you generate protocols that help people, not just change their behavior, but also like change their environment such that their behavior changes or something? So like initially I thought it was going to change like what websites were available at given moments based on like which ones were up, but it sounds like it just changes where the server is located. But I like the idea of like an internet that's like morphing in your like hour to hour experience based on like energy uses and stuff like that. Whereas this one sounds like it's just behind the scenes. Like you wouldn't know anything about it. It's kind of fully automated, blah, blah, blah.
The way it works is that you have multiple servers across the world, and then it picks which server to serve the website from based on the amount of solar energy that that server is harvesting through a solar panel that's connected to it. So if you say google.com, there's a DNS server. There's something called DNS, which decides which server to pick to serve up google.com from. And then they've adapted that to basically say, well, we'll pick a server based on solar power availability. The standard way to pick which server it comes from in a standard content distribution network is based on proximity, how close it is to you and what is the cost to bring that website to you. It says a naturally intelligent network. It's using the intelligence of the sun instead of like a human designed logic for routing, which is based on like traffic and proximity and those kinds of considerations.
I like it as also just the signal of energy-centered design, period. And that's like one of the phrases they use. And I think that manifests in the aesthetics as well. Like it would be cool for us to look into like, okay, what's the version of video conferencing that would be the most energy efficient while still meeting our needs or whatever, like just recording in black and white or kind of hitting our needs in order to do what we're doing, but redesigning it with like the energy centered focus. Definitely. Just that exercise. And maybe that's something we'll start seeing more of. And there's a lot of power in just like constantly there being a reminder, no power pun intended.
You've talked about it a bit. It's like that local aesthetics, because each steward of a server in their location can basically choose to customize the site to a local version. So there's also that kind of subjective or localized representation of that site, like on top of it being energy responsive.
It'd be cool if you could take these protocols into like your own life, like your own habits and stuff like that, and your own decisions to purchase things or to like organize your life. And you could design your own protocols such that like you could, I don't know, the kind of food that you eat like follows a certain set of protocols that like is just built into your decisions like already. Because right now, I guess like if you want to make a metaphor of like what a protocol is, like all food just arrives like in a store and we don't really know how it got there or whatever. But if we could like understand the route by which it came and we could like program ourselves to like only get access to certain routes or something like this that it's taken to get to us. This is what Vinay Gupta's idea is for like how to sort of transform what a consumer society is and make it less damaging, is by being able to like understand all the ways that objects get to us and kind of build in our ethical decisions into the way that objects come to us so that we're aware of it and also automate it in the background.
You think it's a signal or noise?
I think it's a strong signal. I think it's like a buildup of a few years of like low power computing that's like kind of manifesting. The thing that's interesting about this one in particular is this is the first one that I'm seeing that's like networked. This is about the network as opposed to like just like a single computer that's that's running off of low power, so or solar power or something like that, or a single website that's being served up. This is about how like networks can be reconfigured to make them more solar efficient.
Sadi?
I think it's a signal. What it's trying to do is really address a problem, we're ever increasingly facing. But yeah, it's definitely a strength signal for me.
Others? Signal and noise?
Yeah, automate all of our ethical decisions like behind the scenes with protocols and stuff. I think it'd be great. I think that's like a much better way to do it than to put all the burden on people to figure out, how to make the right choice here, make the right choice there. It's like that stuff's not going to work. Like it's not about individual choice. Like it needs to be built into the network layer, the protocol layer. And I think I guess like kind of the way Ud had said, like this is like an example of like a low tech network or protocol, which is cool. It's not just like a choice that you make to go visit like a solar website. It's just forced on you. I think that's great.